Hello students, welcome to EduRev. Have you ever wondered how a single continent can hold towering mountain chains, vast breadbasket plains, enormous freshwater lakes, icy polar shores, and tropical islands all at once? In this video, we will map out the geography of North America, its shape, major regions, drainage systems, coasts, and the physical features that shape climate, resources, and human activity. Think of North America as a long, diverse workshop of landscapes stretching from the high Arctic nearly to the tropics, and we will meet its main characters: the Cordilleras, the Central Lowlands, the Canadian Shield, and the Eastern Highlands. Let us begin with the basics. North America is the third largest continent after Asia and Africa, covering nearly 24 million square kilometers. It stretches roughly from 7 degrees north to 85 degrees north in latitude, and from about 20 degrees west to 179 degrees west in longitude. So its northern boundary is within 500 kilometers of the North Pole. The continent crosses 5 principal time zones: the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle, while the 100-degree west meridian roughly bisects it, a fact that is useful for mapping regional climates and land use. 3 large countries dominate: Canada, the United States, and Mexico, together with the smaller states of Central America and the many island nations of the West Indies. To the east lies the Atlantic Ocean, to the west, the Pacific, and to the north, the Arctic Ocean. The Bering Strait separates it from Asia, and the Isthmus of Panama links it south to South America. The coastline is generally smooth, but becomes deeply indented in the northwest, with fjorded coasts and complex archipelagos that reflect glacial sculpting and tectonic history. Now we move inland to the regional divisions used by physical geographers: the Western region, the Central or Great Plains, the Canadian Shield, and the Eastern region. The Western region is dominated by the young, high Western Cordilleras, a complex of roughly parallel mountain ranges formed by plate collisions whose classic example is the Rocky Mountains. Cordilleras include not only the Rockies, but the Alaska Range, the Cascades, the Sierra Nevada, and the Mexican Sierra Madre, many with volcanic origins and geothermal features. Because these ranges lie along the Pacific Ring of Fire, volcanic and seismic activity are frequent, and geothermal sites like Old Faithful in Yellowstone illustrate the underlying heat. The Cordilleras act as moisture barriers. Winds from the Pacific drop rain on windward slopes, producing orographic rainfall and creating rain shadows on the leeward side. These mountains also create important drainage divides. Rivers on the western slopes flow to the Pacific, while those on the east drain to interior basins or toward the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico. The Grand Canyon is a dramatic example of long-term river incision, where the Colorado River has cut through uplifted plateaus to reveal deep geological history. East of the Cordilleras lie the Central Lowlands and the Great Plains, expansive interiors with deep, fertile soils formed by glacial and riverine deposition. The Great Plains constitute North America's agricultural heartland, often called the breadbasket, producing cereals and oilseeds and hosting significant oil and gas deposits beneath its surface. To the north and east of these plains sits the Canadian Shield, an ancient Precambrian platform of exposed rock, thin soils, and innumerable lakes carved by past glaciations. The Canadian Shield supplies mineral wealth and freshwater resources, but its thin soils limit large-scale agriculture relative to the Central Lowlands. The eastern region contains older, eroded uplands such as the Laurentian Highlands and the Appalachian Mountains, lower in elevation but rich historically in coal and minerals. Coastal plains on the Atlantic side produce short, swift rivers with falls and rapids where the uplands meet the ocean, shaping settlement and early industrial locations. A key feature of North America's interior is its lakes, especially the Great Lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario, formed by glacial erosion and meltwater dams. Together, the Great Lakes hold about one-fifth of the world's surface freshwater and have been essential for drinking water, irrigation, inland navigation, and industrial development. Switching to gulfs and seas. The Gulf of Mexico is a major economic basin for oil and gas, fisheries, and shipping, while the Gulf of Alaska, Gulf of California, and the Gulf of St. Lawrence each have distinct marine ecologies and economic roles. The Caribbean Sea, Beaufort Sea, Hudson Bay, Labrador Sea, and Bering Sea further define North America's maritime geography, linking the continent to global oceanic systems and climatic processes. Islands also matter. Greenland, the world's largest island, is mostly ice sheet and crucial for polar climate. Hawaii bears active volcanism and varied climates. Cuba and Bermuda are important culturally and economically in the Caribbean and Atlantic. The continent's drainage patterns reflect its relief. The Mississippi-Missouri system drains much of the central lowlands to the Gulf of Mexico, while the St. Lawrence channels Great Lakes water to the Atlantic. In the far north, rivers such as the Mackenzie drain to the Arctic Ocean, and Pacific draining rivers include the Yukon, Columbia, and Fraser, each important for regional ecosystems and human economies. Not all rivers reach the sea. The Great Basin in the western United States exemplifies endorheic drainage, where rivers terminate in saline lakes like the Great Salt Lake. These physical patterns, mountains, plains, shields, lakes, and coasts, influence climate, soil, natural resources, and where people live and farm, and they guide transportation corridors and political boundaries. For a UPSC level insight, notice how physiography explains strategic resource distribution: mineral-rich shields, fertile plains for agriculture, offshore basins for hydrocarbons, and major freshwater reserves concentrated in the Great Lakes. That interplay of physical geography with human systems underpins economic development, environmental challenges, and policy choices, from water management to disaster preparedness in seismic and volcanic zones. Quick recap. North America spans nearly 24 million square kilometers, from Arctic ice to tropical seas, structured by the Western Cordilleras, Central Lowlands, Canadian Shield, and Eastern Highlands. The continent's major rivers and lakes, its gulfs and seas, and its islands like Greenland and Hawaii give it a rich mosaic of climates, ecosystems, and resources. Understanding these divisions helps explain agricultural regions, industrial centers, navigation routes, and environmental vulnerabilities, which is essential for strategic planning and governance. Thank you for staying with this guided tour of North America's physical geography. I hope the regional patterns and their human implications feel clearer now. If you'd like to dive deeper into maps, drainage basins, or resource distribution, we can explore case studies like the Mississippi Basin, the Great Lakes Industrial Region, or the Cordilleran Rain Shadows next.